pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Mr. Elmers?
Here.
Mr. Mann?
Here.
And Leroy is not coming.
No, it's doctor's appointment in Sioux Falls.
Take a vote on the December agenda for the 23rd.
Any changes or anything?
I don't have any.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll support that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Aye, okay.
Any corrections to December 17th, 2024 minutes?
Motion for their approval.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. January schedule.
Well, we have to meet the 2nd and the 14th and 28th for sure. I'm not for sure when the board wants to look at budgets. If you want to do it the last week in January or like the 28th and 29th or what you want to do.
Okay, you said second.
Second, we have to meet in the 14th and the 28th for sure. And I didn't know if the 28th and 29th you wanted to review budgets or I don't know what everybody's schedule is.
We usually do that at the end of January, don't we?
We usually do, yeah.
The week of the 20th be a little bit nicer. Could everything be ready by the offices?
I don't know. Depends on what we decide on, health insurance and wages.
I don't want to rush the offices, but to get an initial picture and review things, I think 20th would be a little, week of the 20th would be nicer than the 27th, but just a thought.
I think I need an extra week in there because I'm gone to schooling and then that Monday we're off for Martin Luther King Day. Duh.
Make a motion for the 2nd, 14th, 28th, and 29th.
I'll support that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Assess EMA Director.
Good morning. As we kind of discussed last week in the meeting, Dan has put in for resignation effective January 31st, 2025. So the EMA board met last week on Tuesday, and the board would like to turn this position into a full-time position. I sent this information out to you gentlemen, the email with our thoughts, and then some of what the other counties do. We've had kind of a unique situation, whether it's dispatch or ambulance. Dan's been able to be very, very flexible with his other jobs to take his role as EMA coordinator full-time in the event of a disaster. The concern is it'll be very hard to find someone who's capable of doing that in the future. And, in the meantime, who do we have that's going to act as interim until we can find someone for that part-time position?
Who is number 2? Wait, that's right. You got suckered into that, didn't you?
Well, I'm the chair of the board, so I guess that makes me the EMA coordinator for the county, because I don't know whom else is
Yeah, before it was John, wasn't it?
McDougal, yes.
Certainly understand the request. I don't know if it's the right time to take that step, especially with the state giving as much consideration to EMA funding, and I think when that dust settles would be a better time to make a decision like this. Unfortunately, an opening doesn't allow us that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, and
room as easily.
I was only recently made aware of Iowa looking to make EMA its own tax levy. I found that out on Thursday afternoon. So I know there are some changes coming from the state potentially that could affect. And once again, we may find someone who's can do this part-time. Retired military, has a pension, doesn't need insurance. But where will we find them, and if so, how long will it take to find that person? And clearly, this is a 24/7, 365 on-call position. It's really hard for somebody at the drop of a hat to say, hey, sorry, I can't come to work for the next 3 weeks. I gotta go do my EMA coordinator thing.
But we do have to post it for, what is it, 30 days?
We're gonna post it for 30 days. So the board would prefer that it is a full-time position. Obviously, if the supervisors aren't willing to provide the funds, then we cannot have it unless somebody wants to work full-time with no benefits for $32,000 a year. But the goal is to post the position today, whether part-time or full-time, because I'm gonna be gone for the rest of the week. And if we wanna make beginning of January deadlines for the newspapers. But the way we discussed it was, we prefer full-time, but we gotta get the job posted. So depending on the decision here, we're gonna post the position either way. Full-time position or part-time position.
You've been in communication with Jack
Um,
as to the changing of the status potentially, or?
We didn't really discuss much as far as that part went.
Is there room to do a probationary period? I guess if there's interest in the potential of continuing it as part-time, I'm hesitant to eliminate that as an option at this point, if it could work again. I fully understand the concerns you've identified, but you jump to full-time and some part-time position might have worked, as you identified.
I agree with that, Jason.
So I don't know if we can note that there's a probationary period or a review period. Sure.
I know I voiced my opinion at our meeting,
Mhm.
and I know it wasn't accepted real well.
And I would be fine with posting it part-time. And if we do find a qualified, appropriate candidate, then we continue that route for the near future, possibly changing after the state makes their potential changes. But I want to know, how long are we looking before if part-time's not going to be filled, what are the changes and when are we looking to implement those changes? So when we have spring flooding, everybody's looking at me to be doing Dan's job, and I'm certainly not qualified to do that. Or Kevin.
Kevin can do it.
I'm gonna have Kevin arrest me before the disaster, so you'll get stuck.
I'd like to see it part-time at first and see what we get for interest.
Okay?
That's, well, it's the board decision, that's my opinion.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Is there room, Kevin, to operate as we have been? Part-time dispatch, part-time EMA? If he took a full-time position, did that eliminate the part-time position, or is there potential to continue with that approach?
Well, we still need a part-time dispatcher, yeah, yes. How we can find somebody that's willing to do both.
Okay, that'd be a good route to take first.
And I'm not trying to butt your heads, please understand.
No,
With
I
the combination of EMA and EMS, I still think there may be potential there. I think when you get on site and you set up incident command, I think you can prepare for the concerns that have been identified. Is it ideal? I'm not saying it's easy or ideal, but
No, I think we definitely have the ability to be flexible. We've had, like I said, quite a unique situation for the past 15 years. So our mindsets have kind of gone into this is how it's been working. And it has worked, but as we change now, we may have to drastically think about how we, and maybe I sent you a giant list of things that EMA coordinators do, but until we sit down as an EMA board and put all these things into play as requirements, we may have a full-time person that's really not doing a lot of work initially, so certainly open to being flexible with this. And all right, so we're gonna go ahead, we'll look at posting this part-time. And that's one where as we get applicants, we can discuss the potential of dual hatting as a dispatcher.
make sure to talk to Jack about how to identify it as a review, with a review period or.
And then we'll look at getting that job posted, and I will probably look at maybe first week of February, being back here to update you all on kind of where we're at with it and see if we need to make any adjustments for the future, if
Sounds
that
good.
works for everyone.
Where all is this gonna get posted?
We're gonna post it in both the Sibley paper, the Ocheyedan paper, and then on the county website. I prefer local. If we have to reach out and spend money on Indeed in the future, we certainly can, but I prefer to see if we have anything local that could work.
Do they gotta live in the county?
Technically, there's nothing I could find that states they have to live in the county. I would prefer, because I kind of want somebody that cares when everything goes south, but beggars can't be choosers, so. Any other questions for me?
No, thank you.
Is there room to do a sharing agreement in the temporary, so it's not all
With
on
another
you,
county?
or-
I've spoken to Jared from O'Brien, and it sounds like in the initial, he is on call if I need him. So, I'm not truly concerned. My main concern is if we start pushing this further and further back, we start losing grant money from the state that we get because we don't have a qualified EMA director. All right, thank you. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
I don't think you're gonna get EMS discussed in a minute,
Nope.
so I guess we'll wait a minute. It's 9:00, we'll discuss in jail remodel.
You want me to call John? He's available.
West, John Haynes speaking.
Hey, John, this is Rochelle from Osceola.
Yeah.
We're in the board meeting. We just started the conversation, so.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning, John.
Morning.
So were you waiting for me to start off the conversation then?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, I guess, one of the questions, that I'm sure the board has is, did we find the funding necessary to continue the project?
I talked to our auditing firm. We have some money in the general basic fund. We probably would have to borrow from public safety. And we have a health insurance fund that we could borrow from internally, but we would have to pay that back. And the health insurance fund, we would have to pay back with interest over 3 to 5 years time. There's public hearings and stuff that goes along with it. It's just not doing it, we have to have public input, and so it's not a given. We cannot borrow any money from a bank. So it has to be internally.
Any thoughts on how much you're gonna pull or?
And did you,
10.2 million.
I understand, but from each entity or
I don't know if we could pull like
whatever it takes, huh?
300,
Yeah,
300
I
or 400.
floated, I reached out to DeNoble and timing didn't allow a response yet, but we talked about possibly reducing funding directly to public safety and using some of those dollars. Is there room within the 2080, and I know the communities would need to agree to it, but to add to the budget the facilities use charge or facility support fund? I think it'd be within the rights of public safety to say, we're providing this service, but you have to provide a facility for us to bring city residents to, or, obviously the county has to have a jail, but I don't know that it's a requirement that city policing requires the county jail be the only option. So that's kind of my line of thinking, is if they had to provide something elsewhere, why can they contribute to the facility that we use?
You'd have to rewrite the 2080 agreement that you've got for.
We meet
unified-
monthly, we
for
meet monthly
unified
to,
law, because the way that reads now is, no, they're not responsible to do anything with the jail.
and that's a jail we've had for over 100 years, so I don't know why it couldn't be considered. But I think that would be a potentially better option than reducing the budget funding to try to accomplish funding for the jail project.
I don't know that the towns have any extra money to really pony up towards that.
No, I'm not saying that they do, but we're overfunding a budget year after year after year. If we just reduce the budget, and like I said last time we met, if we reduce our funding, then I don't think it's fair to keep the towns at the same level of funding the public safety budget that they were at. So if theirs goes down, we don't have access to those funds to support the project, so it doesn't create what we, I would say, hope to create for the jail project through that approach. So
They all gotta.
I'm open to
They all
ideas.
gotta agree to that though.
Yeah. And if we can't come up with funds, where do we go with the jail, and then what's it cost?
I agree, but I sit on that board and I know what.
Yeah, I'm not saying we tell them they have to agree. I don't disagree, but
I kind of think this thing has gotten so far off the rails of what was pitched to the voters with the overrunning costs, and now we're trying to strip this thing down to the bare bones. And that's not really what we pitched them. I think it really probably should go back to the voters to see if they want to agree to spend that much more money on it.
Kevin, what does it cost if we take some inmate somewhere else? A day,
Well, you can figure pretty much $80 a day to house them someplace else, and it's gonna cost, you know, we're still responsible for their medical issues and their court issues, so we'd have to have a deputy on the road running them back and forth between here and there.
So what would be an average cost per inmate and number of inmates you have? Per day or per
That
week?
varies so much, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we were sitting on 10 on 11, right now, we're sitting on 3, so.
So as an average 5 or 6?
I think our average daily population is 5 or 6, yes.
I'm just trying to get a figure on, cost on what it would cost if we didn't have the jail.
Yeah. Well, you'd have transportation costs in that too. And is it possible to, I thought I understood Rochelle say that there was some reserves in general fund. Is it possible to use that and pay that back? So it's not so complicated, or?
Yeah, we have reserves. My concern is the legislation. I don't know, they already got us in a pinch, and I'm not for sure what's coming down the pike, you know? I wish I had a crystal ball to see what they're gonna do. You know, this House File 718 has really put us in a pinch.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't think it all could come from general right away. We'd have to take interfund loans from other funds to do it, personally.
I heard him to be saying, can that loan come from general fund reserves too?
Yeah, and I think between the three funds, we
It'd be good
could,
to identify
yeah.
it as a loan versus
Yeah.
just draw down reserves.
But then all the expenses for the jail comes out of the general basic anyway, so I don't even know if it has to be a loan. Because all the expenses, you know, and the benefits come out of general supplemental, and we're paying for 3 dispatchers, I think, 3 dispatchers, I believe, out of general. But the jail responsibility, anything is the general basic, not public safety's responsibility. And, you know, I don't know where our levies are at this point either. We're still working on evaluations, so it's a crapshoot right now.
I'm just trying to think if we went back to the voters again, by that time, the price is gonna go up on the jail. The way they've gone the last year. And like with Harris, that area, they got hit pretty hard this last time around anyway.
And the earliest that we could go to bond is November of '25.
Yeah.
That House File 718 took, you know, normally we could done it like in March or September, but that House File took it away from us. We can only do it in November. So just an FYI for that as well.
I think we're down to the wire now for accepting this bid, because it was only good for, what was it, 60 days?
Yeah, so January 12th, right? John, is our 60 days?
That'd be correct. And I just to add, you know, we have this thing pushed back, you know, to pretty much the bare bones for the jail. And if we were to go to rebid, I mean, when we bid, you know, we had 8 or 9 GCs and we only got 3 to bid. And I imagine they have filled up at this time. Plumbers, we got 2 out of 4. HVAC, we got 1 bid out of 7. Electrical, we only got 2 out of 4. And I don't see the cost. The costs have raised, and I think that we'd end up at a higher cost and be in the same position if we were to rebid it and have all that extra money into it also. You know, there was some concern on the contractors, you know, that
we have proposals, I have proposals that I received from the apparent low bidders, and most of the other bidders have bid other projects and moved on. So if we were to rebid, we'd also get into some winter conditions and stuff like that. Say we were to rebid in February or whatever, or March, then by the time we get everybody going, we'd be into winter construction and then have winter conditions too to deal with. And I've talked to all the apparent low bidders, and I believe that they're also being fairly cautious on the figures they're giving us. So I'm hoping we can get a little bit, but it's not going to be $500,000, And Rick's working on some ideas to get the cost down. Also, your architect is working on that.
Like you said, you kind of thought you had it figured out. What were you thinking?
Well, with money,
Yeah.
what Rochelle was saying. From the insurance, what we've got in general basic, and then through, borrow from the insurance and Kevin's.
But you don't know how much reserve that would leave then for like the public safety.
No, I don't have.
And like Dave DeNoble said, the public safety would have to approve it too, to do that loan.
So with all the extra funding that you're looking for, how many years could you send prisoners away with that total number?
But we'd be looking at 50,000 a year.
Oh, it's more than that. I don't know, right? It was about 200,000 a year.
Yeah.
I just figured $100 a person.
Yeah.
Not counting $100 a day per person times six people. I think that come out to $200 and some thousand a year. Not counting possibly extra deputy, not counting possibly an extra car, and then it depends on where we have to go with them. Where would they go? Wherever there's a
Well,
road?
you have to find somebody that's willing to do it. I mean,
The problem's finding someone to take.
yeah, I'm pretty sure O'Brien wouldn't do it because they're to the max all the time anyway.
I did a little bit
Their
of that figure.
facility isn't big enough. I mean, they just, especially in the summertime, they can't. So, yeah, we'd have to, who knows how far we'd travel and find somebody who can do it.
That 200,000 was just $100 a day. I think
Yeah.
I had figured up something like pretty close, 219 or something it was.
But then you put another guy, car, everything else on top of it.
Yeah, I know. I don't, not to belittle your idea, Jason, but I don't think we're gonna get public safety to, all the cities to come in and give extra money. I don't think we can count on that. Not saying they absolutely won't.
And I'm not saying it's extra money. The budget continues to add to a reserve year after year, so we can identify at the current funding level what could be committed towards the project. The cost to the entities would remain the same. We just wouldn't be growing the ending fund balance.
Would they all agree to use the reserve in that fashion since it's not going towards what they paid for?
As long as it's paid back, I think they would.
But you're looking at what, 9 to 10 years?
I don't think it takes that long.
If they're considering the alternatives, while you're considering, do we fund that? Do they agree to make a change to public safety funding to participate in this need? Or do we go back to a vote and find out if we pay a debt service levy? They present all the information, they're paying it one way or another, if it happens. How are we identifying funding is the question.
Just going off the recent track record for how long it took to get secondary roads paid back from that Pierce Avenue project, that was more than a decade, and that was less money than we're talking about
But
here.
that's the way that deal was set up though. That was agreed to right from the start.
I know, I'm just saying that's how long it took to pay it back.
That was from TIF incremental revenues.
Yeah.
And those funds could be available to help this too. I think we could analyze what TIF debts are needing to be serviced and let some of those funds flow through to help support this in the short term, getting the stink eye from Rochelle. But
Well,
we'd have to advance.
it just
look at
depends
that.
on how our growth is. I mean, I'm not saying that's not a possibility. I just don't, we might already be to our limit that we can't get any more than the 3% or 4%. I won't know until we get the valuations done.
The interest rates have dropped on the bonds too, as far as cost, so.
What was that other prime rate or something?
Yeah, that prime, we can get prime premium. They thought we could get, what, 250,000?
50 out of that.
In 10 years, it'd be over $2 million. That's at just $100 a day, that's not figuring anything else, for 6 inmates.
But you would have reduced funding for annual operation of the jail.
But I'm not counting cars or
Yeah.
extra people or.
The larger cost to me is not quantified by dollars, is how soon do deputies stop writing tickets or stop arresting people? Because now it means a 2-hour trip to haul them to a
That's
neighboring
possibility
county
too, yeah, I'm
versus
not debating that.
back to town.
And
And
that would be one of the options, person you typically arrest, you don't arrest them, you just cite them into court.
I know I like the idea of those guys being on the road more often or in the, but.
I like the idea of borrowing from those 3 funds and doing it.
Isn't that the simplest way?
Yeah. In my opinion, it is. At least we're keeping the money in-house.
The call Friday included bond counsel, right? Were you there, Ed, or not? I thought you two were gonna be there.
Yeah.
Didn't they express some concerns over proceeding with the bids?
I think their recommendation was to reject the bids.
I worked with Jason before. Christine has mentioned something about, risk, and like I told them, we did get proposals. I've worked with Jason before on some things as far as, other contractors are not, we've only worked with apparent low bidders, which is per Iowa code. And they said, well, the other bidders could come back and possibly request an option, and they may be lower, but that's beyond, that's not ethical or it's beyond the code, in my opinion, as far as that goes. Because numbers are out there. We're just working with the apparent low bidders, and we have received proposals for the individual items that we've identified as a group and went over. So this has been done before with other bonding agents and everything. So, I mean, there's an inherent risk to anything you do, so.
I guess our concern was that if we approve this, it's approved as it is without the reductions. The reductions aren't guaranteed because we don't have anything in writing saying we're gonna take this stuff.
We do have it in writing, though. I have proposals. I have actual written proposals for it, and I issued a written request for proposals also. so I do have them. And they assured us that those are available. Like I said, they've been, they've leaned towards being cautious on it, and there may be more money there than what we anticipated as far as that goes.
But I guess from what I understood, those proposals aren't contracts. That's not what you're approving. You're approving.
Yeah, well,
those,
you can't negotiate the bids till the contracts are awarded. And then we would issue change orders, work with them to issue change orders on whatever the board agrees to, after the contracts are awarded, and that'd be taken care of right away, so, in the first month or so, month or 2 months.
I think you'll still see change orders for price increases as you continue on with the project, because I know there's stuff after the first of the year that's gonna go up in price. I mean, there's no guarantee that those prices are locked in either, but.
That's why I'd like to see us sign it now and let them put their orders in to be locked in before the first of the year.
I think you need a little bit more financials as to how what pots of money, how much you're gonna pull out of them, and what a repayment schedule looks like for how long that's gonna take to put that back. Because right now, you don't know any of those things.
I understand, but sitting around this table, I haven't heard any other ideas as to what's gonna refund those. We're possibly saying public safety funding shouldn't or can't be used. I'm not hearing other ideas, so if we're gonna borrow from those funds, where are we repaying it from?
That's I don't know.
And bake sales, I don't think are gonna do it.
No.
But I've not heard other ideas. How are we gonna go forward with, I don't know. I don't like going back to the voters as just, well, that's the easier, the quicker, the better option. I think we should be able to identify funding. Even if we do, it'd be reasonable to identify funding that can support the project to minimize what we'd have to borrow.
I could see us costing us quite a bit more money if we went back and waited a year.
Well, the contractors are even concerned even after the first of the year, and that's why they're wanting to issue, at least purchase orders, they'll lock in pricing for you.
I hate to even ask this, John, but if we do reject the bids, to me, we're basically going back to ground zero, because we wouldn't be putting the plans and specs out there that we went to bid with. What of all this work is already ours? And I mean no disrespect, but what keeps us from exploring other entities? Because I am disappointed on how the funding has been presented to us throughout. At one point, it was like, we need about 3.9 million, so let's go to vote for a bond of 5 million. And I question, why do we need to go to a bond for 5 million if you're identifying 3.9? And then we got approved for 5 million, and we had nearly 1 million in ARPA monies, and your estimates are only always showing a $7 million project. That we had room for contingencies, and now we're already projecting being short, and then we get bids and we're short. And I understand that the scope changed from the original design, but I'm frustrated with the process. And what do we own as far as plans and specs and proceeding if we would use a different entity?
Well, for one thing, Jason, to answer your question, we all did those estimates as new back in 23. May of 23, and then we redid them again right before the bond. We've switched sides, we've done stuff, but that doesn't matter. It's where we're at as far as, going to someone else. If that's your choice, I guess that's the choice. But I also have seen jails of this size at 16 million too. So I guess it depends. I mean, I've tried to keep, and the architect has, this is not over-designed. I mean, we got it down to the basics. You're getting a quality facility, but if you want to go to someone else, I guess, that's fine. I don't know what the architect has in it totally. I know that they did extra work, when they did, when you guys had them do renovation of the existing facility, and they, so, I mean, I'd have to check on that, but plans and specs, I would imagine, I'm not an attorney, but I imagine they're yours. I mean, we set this back 2 months when we moved the building too. I'm not saying it was wrong decision or right decision. They had work done already when we moved the building, and I use we as a group. I mean.
And I understand that, but before we ever went to the public, I asked if the north was the right place for it, and you'd said, well, that decision can be made later.
Well, I thought north was the right decision, and it doesn't matter how we got there. We're there.
Where are we going with it? I say we go forward.
Still think you gotta identify how you're gonna pay that money back.
Well, the general basic, I don't think we have to pay back. It's the other two funds we have to pay back. I don't know if we can pay it back in 3 to 5 years, depending on how much we borrow from them. I don't, public safety, it has what, a $1.3 million fund balance roughly?
I haven't looked at all.
So I don't know if we could borrow like 300 from that, and, that we don't have to pay interest back. The health insurance we do, and I think we have about that much balance in the health insurance, so that would be another 300,000.
We've done a window project, we've done heating and air, we've done a additional building. If we don't have a project like that identified, those dollars should be fairly easily identifiable within a future budget to
Yeah,
contribute towards it.
and we
but-
budgeted 150 courthouse, but to paint the rotunda and all that, and I'm not doing any of that because I didn't know we were gonna have a $200,000 heating and cooling, so, I mean, I didn't ask the board that, but I'm nudging that.
If it does take 10 years to pay it back, what's the big deal?
As long as,
Valuations
as long as we have funding in the
As long
funds
as
to
you
do
don't need to
that.
use that reserve.
Yeah, as long as
Right.
valuations don't go down and you're.
Legislation don't put more restrictions on us. I wish I knew what they were doing, but I don't,
Good
so,
luck if you figure that out.
yeah. So, I had tiling around the courthouse and, stuff like that,
We'll
not
put
doing
that
it.
off for a few years too.
yeah, as long as we don't have any issues downstairs, we did all these offices, I don't want to do them again.
Yeah, it'll be good.
And to some extent, I'd hate to do that project if we have something
Yeah.
going up next door, they need to
Right.
be designed together. Or
Right, yeah. And we had
work
talked
should be
about
done when that's done.
putting a fire alarm in here, but you know, there's other options, cheaper options that we can do there too, so. I think we have $100,000 left on the heating and cooling to pay for this year's budget, so. We have half of it paid for.
We can't take any of them deductions out until after we award this fund. That's the part I really don't care about. But we're stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, are you confident that
Yeah,
the
that was-
architects will, I'm sorry to ask this
That was my
question.
next question, yeah.
Are you confident that the architects would be okay with the change order and reduction? I'm sorry, I should have
No,
had you
yeah.
ask
that's
that.
exactly what I was gonna ask.
Like I said, it's been done before. I mean,
I say we go forward.
Do what?
I say we go forward.
You gonna make a resolution on, or motion on resolution 19 then?
And I have two resolutions. John made one with awarding the contract and one with deferring it, so there's two copies in there. That one that John did has, all the contracts to it. You should have, hopefully have both of them in there.
Make a motion on resolution 19.
Awarding the contracts
Yeah.
in.
What is the final date we have until for consideration of the bids, John?
January 12th, but, if we end up pulling, we have to make a decision, or my understanding is we have to be able to assign, ARP funds to this project prior to the 31st, so.
Can I make a point?
Yeah.
The contractors are looking to purchase materials before the price changes at the first of the year. If you don't
Yes,
award,
there are.
if you don't award before the first of the year, the losses they take on their products is going to be reflected in the change order price that they give you after the first of the year. So one way or the other, they're not gonna lose on those prices on the materials.
I missed that. What was that?
I'm saying one way or the other, the contractor's not gonna lose money on material costs if they have a change order in play. If you award the
Yeah.
contract before the first of the year, they're gonna order their materials. If you wait till after the first of the year, the numbers that you're getting on possible change order prices will change because it will reflect the material prices after the first of the year. So just be aware of that.
If they lock it in, they lock in the price, and then they can reduce the cost based on that price, yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, I would be working on that right away, I guarantee you that much.
This is just like farming.
Yeah.
Hope you can pick one.
You make those decisions. Go
You're an
for
expert
it.
at it, Jerry.
Do you want to identify where that money's coming from, or just?
I'm just going to accept resolution 19. Because Rochelle's got a big checkbook.
No, I don't. I thought we were gonna use yours.
Last time.
Yeah, way more than I do.
Because I don't want to go back to bids, or go back to another election and have the prices go up, I'm sure it'll go up quite a bit.
Is there any reason we couldn't do an additional bonding question in November? If the project is accepted?
Possibly, I mean,
That's not a bad idea.
that's a lawyer's, but
You're
yeah,
committing to dollars, you're,
that would be a lawyer question, but I probably don't see why not.
we just don't have the authority to borrow more than what the
Right.
previous one said.
Yeah, you
so
don't
we
have
would
any
to, but I
authority until,
don't know why we couldn't.
You would have to pass the new bond referendum too, so if it didn't pass, then you wouldn't have this referendum either, I wouldn't believe.
I mean, we could go for maybe 2 million or.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then we don't know what the interest rates will be, because then it would be another, bond to pay, because we couldn't tie it in with the first one, but, that might be an option as well, I don't know.
Can you bond twice for the same project?
That's a good question, I don't know, that's a lawyer's question.
I'm sure this isn't the first time something's come in higher than what they expected.
It's all gonna cost money no matter what we do.
The longer we wait, the more it's gonna cost.
I've got a motion. Does anybody want to give me a second?
I guess I'll support that motion.
Mr. Schulte.
Aye.
Mr. Numbers. Mr. Vanderhook.
Nay.
I'm also nay.
You talked about having a meeting on the 30th. When we had one conversation. John, you said if we would still give approval on the 30th, do you think we could have the contract signed? Concerning ARPA funds, we have to have a contract in place, not just accepted. Would the
Yeah, she has the contracts, and I can update them for the 30th, that you can sign them. And then, the contractor, I would send it out to the contractors, but you'd have proof of signature on the contract. I usually don't when I send them out to the contractor, Jason, I usually don't have your signature, the county signature on it, because I want to make sure they're not making any changes to the contract. But, if your signature's on it, the contract's basically in effect, and then I'll send it out, and then we can formally sign the one that the contractor signs after the fact. I did tell them that I've talked to all the contractors. I told them I didn't know if we were gonna be able to make a decision here today, or if it would, but I said there'd be a final decision basically no later than the 30th.
And will that give them time, then to order all the supplies under current rates then?
Yeah, they're gonna issue purchase orders right away, I'm sure. But, we're pushing it, I guess. What do we accomplish by waiting a week? Are we waiting for some more information or something, or?
I've had 2 reports of what bond counsel or legal counsel is suggesting. I guess my vote reflects, I would like to see something directly from them. I had the impression that I would receive something from them. It hasn't been received today, so I'm not prepared to
Yeah,
go forward without hearing from them.
I understand that completely. I know that I talked to Jason and Christine Smith was going to issue, just what she saw or what something regarding risk tolerance.
Was she gonna have that out this week?
That was her plan. I don't know if she would have it, if you get it meet on Friday, I don't know if she'll have it out by then with Christmas. She didn't.
So
She
yeah, I
didn't
guess
say.
I'm leaning towards adjourning it to another meeting rather than saying I'm completely opposed to proceeding, but
Cause I haven't seen anything that's gonna write off yet either.
Yeah, she hasn't sent it to me yet. As soon as she does, I will definitely forward it out to the board.
She thought it'd be Thursday or Friday, didn't she?
I think so.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
Is that a motion to put it off till the 30th?
Friday or Monday would be better.
Depends where you get the information. If it's at 5 o'clock on Friday.
So we're going to defer till the 30th, is that correct?
I will not be available to be here on the 30th. I can call in. Friday I'd still be around, but
Do it Friday
Still
too.
for Friday, yeah.
Do Friday, I don't care.
Well,
regular morning time or afternoon or
I prefer morning because I was taking Friday off, so I prefer morning.
Don't you have to have 3/4 of the board present to vote on a resolution?
yeah.
Unless you be available by phone or something, call in, Jason, on Monday.
I've been told by council that they have to be sitting in the chair.
Okay.
But if we're here, we'd have 80%. Then you're just saying I wouldn't be able to vote by phone.
I haven't heard that before, but
Could get legal.
that may
We've
be
been on
correct.
that before.
Again, are we
That's
sure
what I
Leroy's
was
gonna
told
be?
on $12.
If he's not here, then we're screwed.
Is Leroy even available?
Today?
No, on the 27th or
See,
30th.
I don't know.
that was his question.
Yeah. I don't know. And I really don't know if I'm gonna be available,
On the 27th or the 30th.
either one. Because if they do surgery, then I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know when they could do it.
You can call that before they put you out.
Yeah, but if I have to be sitting in the chair, that's,
You guys can double check on that, but that's when we were working on our TIF dollars. I was told by council I had to have 4 people in the chambers.
Do you want me to try to call Leroy to see if he's available? Well,
He's at the doctor.
yeah.
I don't know what time his doctor's appointment was.
And you can tentatively set it up for the 27th. If Leroy's not gonna be around, then we'll have to
We can change it.
change it.
Okay. At what time then, are we thinking?
8:45.
8:45.
Okay. So then I need to probably to pass that resolution 19 deferring it then until the 27th at 8:45.
Make a motion on resolution 19, adjourning it to that time.
Support.
Mr. Vanderhoef,
Aye.
Mr. Schulte,
Aye.
Mr. Helmers.
Aye.
All right.
All right, John, then it's at 8:45 then
I'll
on
modify the resolution for the 27th, and I'll also, modify the contracts to that date, and if they wanna sign them, then they'll be available.
Okay.
I'll bring copies with me.
All right, sounds
You want me up there Friday, probably?
Doesn't make any difference. Don't have to.
Call it.
Okay.
and then I can just email you the contracts in. That's sufficient?
Yeah, well, you can just hold on to them, because I'm gonna be up the week of the 30th. You just hold on to those contracts, and I'll have copies. And if you decide to move ahead, then the week of the 30th, I'm gonna set up a pre-construction meeting with contractors to distribute contracts and to get them moving along on purchase orders and such. To follow those proceed, if that's the route we take.
Okay.
So,
All right,
okay.
all right, then we'll just call you then on Monday. Or Friday, excuse
Okay,
me,
on
on Friday.
Friday.
Yep,
That can work.
all right, thank you.
Wish y'all a Merry Christmas.
You too, John.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
If we don't award Friday, we have to have a place for that ARPA money?
Yep. I have a Plan B, and I hope Plan B works. Plan B is salaries.
Good.
That was stressing me out last week, I'm not gonna lie.
Any other comments, questions, concerns?
York was on the agenda later, so we can discuss that further.
Discuss EMS services.
Okay, I asked Sandy to be up here. I would like to see that position to go full-time. And the reason in 23, we had 614 runs, 22 was 533, and 21 was 547. We're asking a lot of our employers around here to let people go that long, because they can be gone, what, an hour to 4 hours? Depending on what gets done. And to pay for that, the levy brings in $301,939, and Sandy had grants, one for $6,200, one for $22,600, and one for $60,000. So I think just by the money, and then whatever money the ambulance brings in. And I think last year you said it was right around 250, something like that. So money-wise, it'll carry itself. But I would like to see that position to go full-time. Any questions or thoughts?
It's a part-time currently.
Yes, it is. It's a full part-time. Did I explain that good enough, Sandy?
Well, I mean, yeah, we upped the hours, I don't know, maybe like in 2020 from 25 to 32. But I think on the average, I probably put in between 36 and 38 hours a week down there. So it's almost full-time. As it is.
What do you think if we went to a full-time person, how much do you think that'd cost?
Well,
I see on your note that you sent was
I
60,000.
just put in 60,000. And I do know that I reached out to Lyon County and, yeah, she's asking for a whole lot more. I mean, but then I think their pockets are a little bit deeper. And you know, we can, I looked into different things that we could probably do to generate a few more dollars. We haven't increased our base rate or our mileage rate for probably at least 7 or 8 years. We could, you know, we can entertain that. There's other, you know, we can reach out for more grant money to help with that.
I've been visiting with the hospital, and I think they're willing to step in and help.
Yeah.
I've heard that for 5 years already now.
At least now this director, he's a lot easier to work with. And Sandy and I are meeting with him on the 6th.
Pardon?
We're meeting with Joe on the 6th, isn't it?
Yes. I think so.
With that new levy, there was supposed to be an EMS board that submits an annual report to us. When will we receive that?
We probably should be able to get that, I mean, most of that's done right now.
But I know a paramedic over at the lakes, he gets 89,000, which I know we can't compete with that.
It's not that far off from a full-time EMA director.
The what?
For Dan's job, for that to be full-time was what, 78?
68, wasn't it?
I
In
guess.
that neighborhood.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
But I'd rather see this be a full-time position before the EMA.
I think now you just get paid by the hour.
Pardon?
You get paid by the hour now,
Yes, you
Yeah.
do.
Mhm.
and you're putting in 36 to 38.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. It's probably
And what would
36.
40 hours would be a
Yeah.
full-time position.
Yeah.
That makes much difference, is there?
Not really, no. But for advertising for the position, if you advertise for a part-time or a full-time. But the hospital is looking at trying to get some of the nurses to volunteer. That's what they're trying to do. We've got to start someplace. And I guess the way I looked at it, when they passed that levy, the people told us they wanted it.
Maybe the people don't come forward and help out either.
You're right. But if you want to think about it, that's fine, or whatever you want to do. But we thought we'd bring it to your attention.
I guess would that money be better spent there or trying to spend that money to get other people on the rigs?
Yeah.
Well, there's quite a bit more there now than what the wages would be. We could still up it for the rigs. But anyhow, think about it. And maybe at the next meeting or something, we can talk about it a little further.
I would like to see if we could hire part-time for now, see where that goes. That's my opinion.
It's already benefits eligible if it's at 32 hours a week. Health insurance comes with it at 32 versus 40, I think is going to be a big hurdle already. But I'd just soon review it at budget time as to decide that now, because the entire EMS service isn't being supported by the levy. We're still funding it. And I think the people thought that was going away if they were going to approve the levy. So
But my question too is, where's that money going that the ambulance brings in? Where is that money?
Gets written off if you don't collect it.
Well, right now it's going into the general basic fund because we pay PCC out of the general basic fund, so,
PCC, they get a percentage of what they collect.
yes. So whatever she collects is going into the general fund because we pay
That's what
for
it's
it.
paid for.
That's where it's paid for. I don't know, I would have to talk to Dave if you wanted to do a resolution and, you know, put some of that in there, but public, our general basic is paying for, I think last year, general was like 25,000 coming out of there. Don't quote me, I'm not 100% sure, but we did a budget amendment of 85,000 out of the general to help support the ambulance because there wasn't enough money.
That's because we paid for half an ambulance.
Well, that was on top of that. Last year, we put like 140 or 50 we transferred from general basic into an ambulance fund.
Yeah.
That 85 was on top of that. Because they didn't have enough money in the EMS fund to pay for all the expenses.
But I'm
Which is
just
what that
questioning,
annual report is supposed to review and make a recommendation to us.
I'm just wondering, the money that the ambulance makes, where does that go? 'Cause
Into the general
last
fund.
year, it made about, what, 250?
Yeah, it went into the general fund because PCC is being paid out of there. That's why it's going in the general fund.
We're using the general fund to pay PCC, who then collects money, and that money goes back to the general fund, because that's where we're paying to get collections
But
from.
why does the general fund get more than what it pays out?
It really did.
No, not really.
Covers the PCC cost? I'd have to see that.
Yeah, I don't know, PCC costs isn't, I don't even know what PCC costs.
Maybe 20,000 a year. I think
Yeah, I would
that's
have to
what we
look back, I don't know for
that.
sure.
Yeah,
But I still wonder if it's bringing in about 250.
As long as we reimburse general fund what they invested, then have the remainder go
Yeah.
into the
because
EMS.
PCC gets 8% of what they collect.
Yeah.
So, whatever they do, if they collected 250,000, they got 8% of that 250, which is what we paid for out of the general basic account.
But once that amount that the general basic paid for, the money that's left should go back to the EMS. I don't know, that's just my way of thinking.
Yeah, we probably have to talk to Dave and do
Or
a
whatever the
resolution.
general fund is supporting EMS with, have those collections cover that expense, and then you can see the additional.
Anyway, something to think about. You know my thoughts. Thanks for coming up, Sandy.
You're right. Thank you.
Sorry to make you wait so long.
No, that's fine.
Reappointment to the Board of Adjustments for Nancy Watterson and Carrie Jones. I will be abstaining from that vote.
How come?
I don't know.
I'll make that motion to reappoint them.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right?
All those opposed, same sign. All those abstaining? Aye. Approved wellness program agreement between the Iowa State Association of Counties and participating county.
It's just our normal contract that we do with our wellness program.
I'll make a motion to approve the wellness program agreement.
Support?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approve appointment for Charles Vole for dispatcher jailer. You still a guy short over there?
What's that?
Are you still a dispatcher short
Yes,
and a deputy short?
yes,
Just one deputy?
yes.
Any luck? Yes.
Well, we're testing again on January 10th and 11th. Right now, we have 15 applications in, so
Hopefully.
if they show up and if they pass, we're pretty good right now, so.
His salary is $44,426, will be as a dispatcher jailer.
Make that motion.
I'll support that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right?
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. These township reappointments, these got to be one at a time, or?
I think you just do them all in one motion. And Chantry has talked with all of them and they all have agreed to do it, so.
What was the question that you had about Pat?
Do they have to live in the country yet? Or can they live in town and,
They can live in town.
Towns are still part of the townships, and
Townships,
they
yeah.
get the levy applied to them.
I was just wondering,
Yep,
thought I'd ask.
yep.
Make a motion for the approval of the appointments, reappointments.
All those in favor?
Right?
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Two township appointments, I will be abstaining from that one as well.
Make approval, or make motion to approve the township appointments.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right?
All those opposed, same sign. All those abstaining. Consider elected officials compensation.
Everybody, here's Nolan's letter. I think, and Kevin is going to talk.
Well, I'm not really gonna talk.
How long are you gonna talk?
Oh, I got the same thought. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I'll do it.
gonna give us a song and dance, Kevin?
You want it now?
Sure.
Well, the sheriff's salary is pretty simple. It's supposed to be set by the code. So what I did, according to the code section, I had to use the comparables from the Iowa State Patrol, Iowa Department of Public Service, and the population of cities, of the population that's comparable. Everybody get one? So in that, I'm gonna throw that on the rest. So that's what I did, and that's where those numbers came from. So I just got a letter for you on the front, and then the last page is a copy of the code section, and the second page is what all the comparisons are. And that's all I got.
Well, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
What's the definition of comparable? I said, what's the definition of comparable?
However you wanna make it.
I thought after they passed this and we made that huge increase, that these increases weren't gonna be double-digit increases anymore.
I don't think we ever got the sheriff's budget or wages up to where,
Well, we had to, because the
I don't
code
think
said
we-
we did.
I don't think we ever.
Doesn't mean we did.
I don't think we ever did.
Because we couldn't cut them separately, except our own, so once we reduced other ones, there's never.
I was at a couple meetings last week, and I asked some of the supervisors there what their thoughts were. And they're all talking about 4%. And then I sit here and look at this and I think, they must have visited.
District meetings, there were a few that identified they were in lower range than that.
Did they?
Yeah. Not sure where I put that, but. Sorry, I didn't take the opportunity when you guys did.
You guys didn't drink so damn much coffee.
Water, it's all about water, yeah. Cold coffee.
Here, now quit your bitching, I paid for the coffee.
I didn't say you'd had to pay for it, I just said.
Well, you've asked me in the past, did you leave a buck for the coffee? So I did.
You just leave a can over there. Pots.
Do you drink coffee? You do?
Earlier.
Uh-oh.
See, all the good guys drink coffee.
Trying to get a little taller yet. Stunt your
That's
growth.
your growth, yeah. He's not a coffee drinker either.
I have to admit, all of these are not far off where I was thinking. Say, Keith, do you pay her mileage for walking back and forth? Well, one was Kevin, I don't think about that one that fast, or that far.
Were we required to go that high?
That's what
I don't know.
I thought, because like, when we did that the first time, it was like almost a 30% increase. And they said that it wouldn't change, because his was separate from everybody else's.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever giving the sheriff's office that, or the sheriff that much.
It's been double-digit increases
Yeah, I
every
think-
year since they
yeah.
passed that.
I don't remember that.
Getting old, Mike.
Has to keep rubbing it in too.
I don't even know how old are you, but
73. About 10 years older than you are.
yeah, I just turned 64 Friday, so. Wow. You didn't think I was that old?
That's a good thing. Take that as a win.
So what are we thinking?
Before the meeting, I was thinking 3.5 to 4.
I didn't do a lot of research, I was waiting to kind of see what they, give me further thought. Without a lot of time put into it, I was kind of thinking along the lines of the CPI as identified by the auditor.
Keith helped me, so I appreciate that. So thank you.
2.5 to 3% was kind of in my head, but
But I also think the auditor should have a little bump. A little stipend. Because it seems like all the crap that comes through this place gets dumped on her shoulders.
I don't think she doesn't deserve it, but I hate doing that. This person did this much and they need that much, so. Just my opinion.
Somebody's gonna feel left out.
and if she didn't do it, a lot of what we get done wouldn't get done. I think ARPA would have been lost because we weren't the ones figuring it out. But
Whether, I mean, I asked for $1,000 stipend because the board chair gets 1,000. You know, whether I get it or not, I'm still gonna do my job like I have been doing. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just, you know, stating a fact,
there are
so.
other counties that hire a budget director.
That's right. That's right. All I can do is ask. And like I said, I will still do my job like I have been.
What do you guys think? Like I say, they're not too far off from those. Are we making a decision today what we want to do, or what?
You don't have to, you just present if you guys wanna think about it and ponder on it, whatever you wanna do.
What do you think of the sheriff?
I don't know, that one's kinda got me stumped.
Do you have the previous increases for the sheriff?
I can go get it.
Wouldn't it be the same as yours?
Yeah, I
You
thought
guys
they
end up putting
were.
that in here.
Yeah.
Was his has been recommended differently, so the
Yeah.
reduction was different. Yep, sorry.
There was a couple counties when they first passed that were like 38% or more.
Yeah.
And then that was supposed to taper off into single digit increases, so it's like 11% it seems.
I could probably see doing a little bit at a time for 2 or 3 years.
A little more, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't really remember, I thought we were all 4% this year.
See, I don't ever remember giving them a bigger.
Last year, the sheriff was 14% and everybody else was 12%. That was recommended from the comp board.
So we didn't give that to them.
Auditor went from 12 to 4%, request versus approved. So 14 to, whatever that difference is.
Yeah, because then we had to cut everybody the same, didn't we?
So we can or we can't? Cut just,
Now we can,
now you can, yeah.
but before when we had board, then we had to cut everybody the same. Are we sitting fairly close with your wages? On an average, I mean, for other engineers?
No, not even close, are you?
Average, I mean, there's some higher, there's some lower.
I just don't want to be on the tail end of it. I'll be on the low
Nor do
side. Because I like what you're doing down there, that's.
You ever go past my place with the snowplows doing an excellent job. I've never seen somebody go by so many times. He does a good job. I don't know who it is. Is it Troy?
Is that a truck?
Yeah.
That's a truck. I think that's Troy's great.
He does a good job. I think.
Lighter the snow, the more passes they can make.
Yeah, that's true. My wife even made that comment to me, so it's easy to go by a lot.
So, for this current year that we're in, you reduced it by 66.67%, so attorney, auditor, recorder, treasurer, and supervisors receive 4% increase, and the sheriffs receive 4.67%. Yeah, 14 for the sheriff and 12 for everybody else. This current year.
You guys need to take a look at it, or-
I'm okay with
So you can,
either way.
you can do the sheriff's separate then.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't have to do them all.
No, not all equally anymore.
I'd be satisfied with 4%. With 1,000 stipend for the auditor. But if you want to think about it, that's fine too. Makes me no difference.
Does Jason think you want to make a decision today, or you want to think about it?
I'd probably review some of the arguably comparable counties, and
Okay.
that's a openly defined word, but
Well, if we can get through the resolutions in about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, I'm gonna leave.
Put that one off to next meeting.
Approve resolution 20, identifying county operating. Is that in here?
Should be. Right there.
Is that in here too?
Yeah, that should be two. They probably have to be separate motions, but
20.
is that 20 is that utility stuff, that big?
Oh, there we go.
Make a motion on resolution 20.
I'll support that.
Mr. Schulte,
Aye.
Mr. Helmers,
Aye.
Mr. Van Hook.
Aye.
Motion carries.
anybody knows for sure. My opinion is the windmills will become part of this when that reduced valuation approach for 20 years is no longer in place. Is that anybody else's understanding, or?
I really haven't heard.
Make a motion for approval of resolution 21.
Support.
Mr. Van Hook,
Aye.
Mr. Schulte,
Aye.
Mr. Helmers.
Aye.
Motion carries. Discuss ARPA funding obligations and consider the memorandum of understanding regarding obligations of those funds.
There was a meeting last week, and I went to a district meeting on the 13th, and they said as long as we had a resolution identifying what we were gonna use this ARPA fund, we were good, we were golden. Well then, in that webinar last week, that wasn't the case. We have to have it obligated. My take on it, Keith listened, and I think Jason listened, I don't know if anybody else listened, that we could use wages. So I use wages out of the general basic fund for that $922,000 that we have remaining in ARPA. And that maybe I can use that, lost wages and, tie up some monies in the general fund to pay for the jail if we go that route. Or otherwise we could lose the money, so. That's what other counties are doing. They're gonna use lost wages if they don't have a contract signed. Or wages, I shouldn't say loss, but wages. I did figure it out, and we would have over the $922,000 of wages spent for the remaining ARPA money, so. I did a memorandum of understanding with that. I talked to NACO. You know, they couldn't give me any legal advice, but I did all the offices that are paid out of general basic to cover $922,000.
Was that 1 year or the 2 years? Because you'd have 2 years to spend.
Yeah, I figured 1 year. I figured our wages this year, half a year, and we would be over the $922,000. I'd probably use wages for 25, 26, and we would be over the $922,000. And that's not benefits yet either, because those are taken out of general supplemental. So between the benefits and the wages, that's our plan B. We also, you know, I can take some money for the heating and cooling, you know, that's $200,000. I would have to have a quick contract signed by for the remaining, but Keith has equipment. I need to check on that. He can prepay something, but I feel confident that the wages would be sufficient. Is that how your take's on it? It scares me.
The wheeled excavator that was part of the budget is sitting down in Des Moines, so we're getting close to picking it up. But that's road fund, transfer back and forth.
And
That's
I don't,
kind of a de novo.
yeah, I don't know if I can do that.
It's $300K. They were getting ready to cut a check on.
I'm just trying to keep the money for the jail if we need it.
So I'd like to see it.
I've had some panic attacks over this, let me tell you.
And not surprisingly, the representatives were saying it was always the case that
Yeah, that wasn't the
just a
case.
resolution wasn't enough, and it was probably in the fine print, but
Yeah, never mentioned
not
that.
clearly.
No. And, you know, we had it in the board minutes. I found it November of '22 that the board allocated this ARPA money for the jail, so I thought we were golden. But
And if we'd accepted bids and had a
Accepted bids
contract
and
in
we would be
place, that'd
golden.
fine, but
then we would be. So this is a plan B. There's a lot of counties that are stressing because they have ARPA money left over, thinking there's one county that's set 1.7 million that they're trying to do salaries for because they were doing a building and they're not going to bids until February 25. So they don't have contracts signed. So I'm not, you know, we're not the only county in this boat, but I think you need to approve this memorandum of understanding, and we can sign it, and then that will help.
Is there a memorandum of
Yep, it's in your file.
see that. Must have rushed into something else.
See you, Mike.
It's right there, isn't it, right there?
Have a question for me.
Pursue on this program.
Okay.
You have a memorandum of understanding in your.
I didn't see it.
I remember seeing it by email.
Okay, maybe I didn't. I thought I gave it in there. This definitely was my plan.
I'm sure we'll see it out.
Good. Have a Merry Christmas.
Yep, you too. Oh, I guess we've got one more meeting.
Oh, yeah. Well, after Christmas. Unless you want to do Christmas Day.
What?
Unless you want to have that meeting Christmas Day. But
That's good.
all right.
I didn't have any.
Okay, maybe I didn't. I apologize. I thought I did.
You had a lot.
Let me go print it. I have it.
Welcome back.
Are we ready for the next meeting?
Yeah, sure. Oh, you forgot your stuff. See
See you later.
ya.
See ya.
how I feel too, every time I come to one of these meetings.
It shouldn't be anything too painful for kids that age here.
Shouldn't
I don't
be,
think they started getting shots.
unless mom and dad were saying the tax bill was so high we can't buy any Christmas presents.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Or they told them Santa Claus wasn't real, I don't know.
And not the best time you ever had.
No.
Well, sometimes it doesn't take much to get into something like that, so.
Mm-mm. They're so much better when they're grown up.
I don't know.
They don't get the
Little-
whining and crying.
Little kids, little problems, big kids, big
Yeah,
problems.
yeah. It's more expensive than probably problems that we've had.
Can I get some money from mom and dad? Mom and dad are in the bank.
Yeah. Although our younger one's not, he doesn't spend anything, so.
I apologize, I thought I had it in there.
That one email I'd seen talks, they said that you'll need to provide an estimate to treasurer when your next project and expenditure report is due.
Yep.
Do you have that prepared?
I can't get on the website I can't do, it won't.
It would be good to have that printed and accompanying, keeping it with this as.
I would, but I
support.
don't.
You can't do the report.
I can't do the reporting until March. Because we had this webinar, and so I thought I could go in there and create like the jail project and everything, and nothing was like the video had showed. So when I emailed them, they said I can't get into it until March, because we're a yearly reporter. And last year was the only year that I ever reported because we had the jail. Otherwise, I didn't have to report, or I reported zero because we hadn't spent any of the money, but the conservation.
Then that would be a lot simpler if Mike's motion had passed and we could have a contract for the jail signed.
So is this something that should wait for the 27th, or is it something we need to do?
I don't think it hurts if we did it. I mean, as a backup plan, but
My concern was even if we do approve the bids on the 27th, that we'd get in a snag where it's not signed according to them. If that end signs their copy and we sign our copy, I can see them saying, well, there's not one official document. That would be my concern. So I don't think it'd be a bad idea to pivot to this. It's a heck of a lot more cumbersome, but it's worth not losing that 122,000.
yeah,
I agree.
it is. I mean, I did, when I reported last year, I did mention that we were using the money for the jail remodel, and then I had to report back to make sure that we weren't using it for principal and interest. We can't use that money for principal and interest, which we are not. And I confirmed that, and they were okay with that. But
Certainly won't be.
yeah. So,
The only thing accompanying of this is we need to continue to budget within general fund for the wages that would have been paid, even though they're paid for by this, so that will support the jail project. Otherwise, the jail project's is another 922,000 behind.
don't do that to me. No.
So,
This has all been very, like I said, panic attack, because I don't want to lose this money. I thought, initially we were good, initial plan, September, we would sign contracts and start, and now we're here December and no contracts are signed. It's like, now what? This has been a blessing and a curse.
Yes, I would agree.
And I think the government finally realized.
Make a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding regarding obligation of ARPA funds, or whatever they're called.
I'll support that, but in that we are committed to replacing those dollars
Yes.
with traditionally funded
Yep.
payroll dollars.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Claims.
There is a claim from Bosma Water Service, number 1037.
Make a motion to pay claim 1037 to Bosma Water.
Support.
Don't have a choice on that one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Same sign. All those abstaining?
Abstain.
Motion carries. They keep all these flood claims for repair, those are all covered by,
At least 80% of it.
80% of them covered by.
Mhm.
Yes. Now that the season's kind of done, we're starting to
Well, on the day before.
Mhm. I have, so am I.
You do too?
Well, we're going down on
There's a
that
lot of money
Wednesday, the
going out.
14th, or the Tuesday.
Noon.
Just-
So expect a budget amendment in the spring.
I believe I have to drive separate. I might have to drive separate. Because I'm not in the day.
Yeah, we're going down the 14th. I'm not leaving at 2:00 in the morning.
Make a motion to pay the rest of the claims.
Support to that?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Residency requirements. I don't know if you guys saw this. 2 years ago, there was a supervisor over in Woodbury County that moved out of his district. He bought a house in another district, but tried to keep his seat by saying he was living in a house in the district that he just left. But he had to resign. I think we had a similar thing with Derek Peterson decades ago, where he had moved out of his district as well. And then just this last week in Minnesota, there was a representative that was removed for moving to another district and not living in his district. I had a resident voice concern to me over the fact that our county attorney is living in Minnesota. And I think that is kind of a cause for concern, because you do need to be a resident here. You do need to live here in order to be elected from here. And according to the state of Minnesota, any partial day spent at your residence in Minnesota is considered a full day towards your residency requirement there. And from what I gathered, the county attorney doesn't spend much time here in Sibley. State of Minnesota, same as state of Iowa, has a 183-day rule for how that works. They consider both your words and your actions, with your actions carrying more weight than words. Oh, when I look at the actions, the county attorney got a marriage license in Minnesota, got married in Minnesota, wife lives in Minnesota, and he bought a house in Minnesota, and it's less than 20 minutes from his place of employment. I don't think that shows you want to be an Iowa resident. But I said it was brought to me by a citizen that had concerns about it, and it might be something to discuss at a later date. And that's all I had for that. Any other business? That,
Keith, we got this from you, what was,
That's a zoning action.
Adjustment.
There's a variance request that's gonna be going to the Board of Adjustment next month. The county owns property because we own that trail. It's over by the grain elevator in Oshie.
sure,
They're asking for a setback variance of 25 feet instead of 50 for a solar array to serve their needs. It's not a commercial solar farm.
okay, thank you.
requires no action, just information, right?
It's information for the board. If the board wanted to make an opinion, they could. Otherwise, you let the Board of Adjustment do their work.
Does anybody have an opinion on that? I would say no. So I'd take that last motion. If nobody has anything else.
No, to adjourn.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.